All right, everyone, welcome back to this another Beefcast production. I am your casting host, Beef, and thank you for joining me. We are here casting the finals, the best of 5 series between this Terran and this Zerg player at Assembly Winter 2012. All right, game 1 went to our Zerg player on GSL Antigua Shipyard, but here on GSL Daybreak, we'll have to see who takes game 2. Let's get these player introductions going. Right there, we do see our first player. He is the Red Zerg, the pride of France. He is the ace of Team Millennium. He is Stephano. And in the bottom left-hand corner, we do have a very strong Korean Terran, the ace from Team SCV Life. He is TSL.Polt. And so we do see them here on Daybreak, like I had mentioned, and this is going to be a two-player map, so there's only going to be these two positions that can spawn, and no forced cross, nothing like that. But you can see it's a very long map. The distance to traverse right now is pretty dang long, especially with this destructible debris there in the middle. Once that's taken out, there's a little bit more accessible paths going on. But since the time that this map was played here in assembly, it has since been added to the ladder pool, and it's been pretty well received. Zergs tend to like this map quite a bit. It's pretty easy to take a third right here. We will probably see Hellions coming out of Polt that are going to be doing a little bit of map control so that Stephano won't be as easily able to take his third base. And we do see that with that 12 racks into a 14 gas, that is most likely what we're going to see. That is a pretty standard reactor Hellion build, with Stephano actually getting into the base, being able to see that all before the second supply depot was going to be able to go down to complete that wall off. And Stephano's doing a great job right now, being able to do some harassment over here, actually gets the probe out alive, and he's able to see everything that goes on. He even saw that the orbital command was being taken there at 16 supply. And back home, he did lay down an early hatchery, as usual, seeing that there was a gas. There was no kind of double racks, no kind of proxy racks, nothing like that. He's able to say, hey, I'm probably going to be safe from any kind of bunker pressure here, so let's go ahead and take this down. We do see that SCV did slip by, and it has not been noticed yet by Stephano. There, it's going to walk right back up in, just going to be scouting for now. So no bunker just yet, but we do see the Marine moving across the map, so it might be throwing down some pressure soon here. We'll see if this SCV is going to make a bunker or not, and we do see him throwing down the bunker right there. So this is a pretty good position. It's going to minimize the surface area from the Lings being able to get in right there behind, and from not being able to get it because of this Vespene geyser. And drones are going to be pulled. A total of 4 drones going to be working on this SCV, and this bunker will not be going up immediately. They are going to be kited around a little bit by this Marine, but nice control out of both of these players, splitting up the drones, getting some of them on the SCV, and the SCV will likely escape, so no big deal. A couple of Marines up here now, and Zergling's going to be not even coming out. Double Queen's coming. So we have 2 Zerglings on the map now, excuse me. SCV goes down. That's the end of that bunker. 1 Marine in good position. Going to be able to take out both of those Zerglings there. And this Marine with some good stutter step micro going to be able to put a little bit of damage in. And even gets another drone. Beautiful job by Polt there. That actually is a pretty big win. It might not seem like it, but that's pretty big. Back home in the meantime, we did have the factory go down. Reactor Hellions are going to be started right here. So the first one will be hitting Stephano's front door at about 6 minutes 15 seconds, and so he'll know that. He'll be throwing down a spine crawler there pretty soon, and behind that, Polt will be dropping a command center. Stephano at home is going to be taking speed. He's just started that upgrade, so he's going to be trying to use speed lings to try to combat the map control that the Hellions are going to give Polt. And if there's not a spine crawler thrown down here in just a second or so, okay, he's going to be going a Roach Warren. So this is not something you typically see out of a ZVT style unless you're going to be going for some early pressure or you're choosing to use these Roaches as the way to combat the Hellions. With speed already done, it's kind of interesting because it looks a little bit more like a Roach bust to me than it would defense, because you wouldn't typically see Ling speed and Roaches at the same time. So we'll go ahead and see. We do see the barracks is going to be researching stim and continuing Marine production, no Marauders like last game. And we'll just have to see how this goes. And Polt's going to poke in there, still has not seen the Roach Warren yet. And another couple of these Hellions, sorry, going to join up here, moving on to the creep, going to try to poke up right now, but we do see 8 roaches in production, so this is a lot of roaches. Stephano is only going to be sitting on a total of 27 drones right now, so this is going to be some high aggression play coming out, and if he's able to trap these roaches, he sees all those eggs right there, and he sees the roaches right there, and so he's going to pull back, he's going to move that back, he's probably going to throw down a bunker right there, possibly even another bunker right there. Oh my gosh, he might not even... he sees all the roaches. He's got to start throwing down bunkers. What are you doing? He immediately pulls up this command center, and he knows that there's something big coming in. There's no baneling nest down. Nice job from Polt here, actually buying as much time as he can with these Hellions. He's going to try to get back in here, try to take out as many Zerglings as he can. And with the roaches being very slow and almost all the way across the map, he might even be able to slip in and get a lot of kills here. 6 Hellions will take out a roach with minimal losses. And still no bunkers. Unbelievable. Polt is just saying, hey, I can defend this purely with my counter aggression and with the units that I have up here on the high ground. So we'll see how this goes in total. And we do see up to a total of 3 racks. Reactor on this factory once again, going to be starting to produce units, and Starport as well. But SCV's going in there, not able to get the repair on that. A little bit of a slip up there from Polt, but SCV's still going to block the choke. Nice hold position, going to be minimizing the damage that they're taking. 3 Marauders in the back, going to make very quick work of these roaches, and it looks like Polt has held this. And Stephano is in a pretty bad position at this point. He is going to be really far down on drones. He's taken his 3rd behind that already, so he's already planned on not having this be a complete all-in. But he's pretty far behind from where he would want to be in general. Up to 32 drones, 40 drones now, a couple more just popping out. And so he's not too far behind. With 40 drones to 25 SCVs, you know what? I'm not even going to say he's behind. I think they're probably at pretty even, because Polt was not able to take this natural just yet. However, the army size of Polt is significantly larger. Let's see if I can pull that up. Army supply is going to be 23 in favor over 17 of Stephano. With Medivacs coming out, he does have the tech advantage as well. So I would expect to see that Polt's probably going to try to defend, get that natural saturated as fast as he possibly can, and possibly do a little bit of drop play at the same time. These Medivacs are going to come out and heal the units that were pretty low. With 5 Marauders in there, he's got a lot of power against roaches, and he's got a lot of power against buildings. So I would not be at all surprised to see Polt start to try to take out some buildings, or just really be praying that Stephano might be going roaches. But Stephano has already transitioned back into his traditional Stephano style, heavily upgraded lings, and we'll probably see infestors coming out relatively soon here. But we do see Zerglings are going to be crashing with the infantry right here. Nice big stem on a couple of those units, and actually all the units, but Medivac's able to easily heal that back up, and the Zerglings are deterred for now. But there are a lot of Zerglings coming out, a total of 43 Zerglings on the field right now, and 43 Zerglings might be able to clean this up once the +1 armor hits here soon. Third base has not been scouted yet, but Polt is probably going to assume at this point that it is up. Combat shield just finishes there for Stephano, and tons of lings, absolute tons of lings right now in production for Stephano. He's already got tons on the field. He's going to go for the big surround right here, and it looks like Polt might actually just have to pick up and go, and he's going to choose to fight for right now. Only loses 1 Marine. Well, that's not true. He lost more than 1 Marine, but gets pretty much 2 full Medivacs at this point, and the Zerglings are going to be running away. Or excuse me, the Medivacs are going to be running away with the Zerglings in tow. And so back at home, a couple more Medivacs and Marines are being produced. Siege tank research has started over here at this factory. 3rd Orbital Command up on the high ground, and we do in fact have +1 starting over here at this engineering bay. Typically what will happen is a Terran will get +1, and then about 2/3 of the way through, they'll drop a 2nd engineering bay and an armory so that they can start +2/2 or +2/1 as soon as +1 is finished. So we'll see if that is indeed what happens. Stephano taking a 4th down here at the 5 o'clock position. Pretty good chance that Polt will not scout that for a decent while, and nice job flanking these Zerglings. Every Zergling counts when you're at this stage. Macro hatch is up and running in addition to +1/1, +2/2 is on the way, and no infestation pit that I've seen yet. I think that that drone might have actually intended to throw down an infestation pit quite a while ago, because we're getting on to 13 minutes of no infestation pit right now, nothing but Zerglings, no Baneling nest, anything. And I think that's a little bit of a mess up. Yeah, that drone finally does throw down that infestation pit. And I guess he was just kind of starved on gas. He's only operating off of he was only operating off of two gases for a while there, and finally getting the rest of them up and running at this point, so he will be able to get enough gas to saturate those bases. The fourth base will be starting right here, and we'll see if he's going to be building drones. 8 in production currently. Come down here, and that will take his total to 66 drones. So with 10 more in production, he's going to be going all the way up, and he's going to pretty much fully saturate this. It'll be interesting to see how he chooses to defend that. Zergling's going to be clashing once again over here with the infantry. Infantry stims right on out of there. Going to take a couple of losses, but nothing too much. Siege tank fire is going to be able to deter them. And I'm a little bit surprised that we're 15 minutes into the game now, and Polt has not dropped at all. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Polt's normally a player that's a little bit more active with his drops. So once again, we do have Stephano finishing up those upgrades. Pathogen glands are on the way. Infestor protection has just started, along with a pretty on-time hive. I was going to say it's pretty early, but this game's kind of progressed a little bit slowly because of that roach bust. Plus 1, 2 is now on the way. 2 being the weapons there for the infantry, in addition to +1 weapons for tanks. And Polt has gone ahead and done a pretty good job of making sure that there's a wall at every one of his expansions. All these supply depots are going to be very effective for Ling run-bys if they were to come by in the later game. Later in the game, when you do have something like Broodlords and Terran is resorting to dropping constantly, you will see Ling run-bys trying to get into these bases to do any kind of damage. Nice job of Stephano leaving a bunch of these Lings over here, trying to make sure that they are not going to be hit by any drops, and lifts right up out of there. It does Polt, and he's able to effectively move on out. And so we are just kind of at a little bit of a standstill. Both players just macroing them on up. 4th command center coming down for our Terran player, and we do have a Ultralisk Cavern for Stephano coming up. So we'll see how many Ultralisks he does choose to produce. And it's a pretty decent map for Ultralisks. The areas where he's going to be attacking right here and right here are very wide. Right here, the choke is pretty bad, especially if he doesn't kill those destructible debris, which is why you'll see him killing destructible debris over here with the Zerglings right now. Zergling's going to be walking in there, checking the army composition of the Terran player, and he's going to say, okay, there's a lot of Marauders, there's a lot of tanks, and we'll see if he continues production of Ultralisks at this point, because Marauders and tanks are very, very effective, and we do see a Ling run by here, but most of these Lings going to get cleaned up, and he's just going to be trying to get into the base, see if he can do any damage to the mineral line, anything like that, maybe pick off a tank or two. Manages to get 1 tank and 1 Marauder, but not worth the amount of Lings that he, well, you know what? It probably was worth that amount of Lings. He's filling a lot of minerals at this point. And we do see more Lings coming in here, different groups of Lings from all over the place, but these Lings do need Infestor backup. They do need Ultras to get in there and tank and do some damage. Right now, these Lings are not going to be effective by their own. We see upgrades coming out of both of these players. +3/2 started for our Terran player, in addition to +2 weapons, +3/3 adrenal glands, and chitinous plating for the Ultras, all starting at the same time. And Zerglings are going to be coming in from 3 different angles. I wish I could zoom out, but Zerglings are going to be taking down most of these tanks, the infantry, and there was no Infestor support, though. The Infestors are all back here, and the tanks, they managed to get up on top of the tanks, but the tanks were just able to fire onto one another, and the infantry support was too great. The Infestors were absolutely nowhere to be found. I don't think a single fungal went down on that fight, and these tanks, once again, are going to take massive amounts of damage. Excuse me, the Ultras are going to take massive amounts of damage from the tanks and from the Marauders. Back at home, we do see that Zerglings have burrowed right beneath this wall right here, so we'll probably see a Ling run by at some point over here, another one burrowed under this base. But Planetary Fortress will be morphed at the proxy here. And so we do see Zerglings and Ultras running in. Infested Terran drop to absorb some of the Siege Snake fire, but there are no infested fungals going down right now. And these Ultras are going to be cleaned up pretty effectively at this point, only down to 2, both of them very low. and the Terran player gets the better engagement once again. This fourth base will likely be going down at this point. There's simply not enough units to hold this off right now. 3 Infestors with a couple of Lings are not going to do that. Excuse me, 3 Ultralists. I'm really getting these units wrong. And decent surround right there, but the Infestors do not have any energy for Fungals. Throwing down a couple of Infested Terran right there, but that's not going to be enough. The Siege Tank line is very deep, and these Ultralists take so much damage from tanks and Marauders. Look at how fast they fall. Not exactly like the Ultralisks from StarCraft Brood War. So we do still see these Lings over here. I'm surprised that he hasn't unburrowed those to try to get into the mineral line just yet. But he's kind of busy back home, just trying to make sure that he can get remaxed. Right now he's at about a 20 supply deficit from the Terran player. And let's take a look here. Army supply at a 30 supply deficit. And once again, just a lot of Lings. Got a couple of Infestor dropping. Some Infested Terran trying to get some friendly fire going. But every time that he does that, he does not have Fungals for the fight. We do see 5 Siege Tanks, 6 Siege Tanks right there, and Stephano very wisely going to be evacuating the space, moving on to this positional base near the middle of the map. And we do see that those Zerglings finally did do whatever they were planning on doing. Polt has gone ahead and saturated his positional base over here, and it looks like there's going to be a flank set up by our Zerg player, going to be moving in with the Zerglings and the Ultralisks first. Infestors coming in behind, but they're taking a little bit of damage from these Siege Tanks, and these Infestors are just going to burrow at this point. And the Zerg actually does a pretty good job of cleaning that up. The Terran player does manage to catch a very nice scan on those Infestors, manages to take a couple of those out. 1 or 2 Fungals did go out, did a pretty good amount of damage to the army, and unfortunately the Zerg player does not have enough fungal growths left over at this point to take care of these medevacs. He would love to get 6 or 7 medevacs right there, but he just doesn't have the energy on his Infestors. All the way down to 143 supply right now, going to be taking out these destructible debris here in the middle. New base finishes up right here, so he's going to be able to transfer as his main is mined out. His natural will be mining out relatively soon, down to about 200 minerals at each one of those. And the drop finally going to be coming in. This is the first drop that I've seen all game, and he will probably stop right here and say, hey, it's time to unload, gonna kill this. And the Zerg player is going to be out of position now from the middle, and the Terran player will use this opportunity to move up his bio ball. At this point, it becomes a game of positions. Each one of these players is going to try to be getting the other one out of position so that they can check out the positional bases here. And so with this drop into the main, taking out the extractor right there is actually a bigger deal than it might seem. Gas is going to be very much so the limiting resource for Stephano right now, all the way down at 200. And there was still quite a bit of gas left in these extractors, 172, so a little bit. But he needs every gas that he can get. And at the same time, like I said, getting the army out of position, he was able to move up with this bio ball and take out the 5th base of Stephano. Still mining off of this base right here and long distance mining from his original 4th. At the same time, we do have an engagement coming over here on the planetary. Ultralisks are very, very effective at killing planetary fortresses, probably their best use, and that will fall. He managed to evacuate any STVs that were there, but I think that was a new base anyway, and there probably weren't any there to begin with. And so we'll just continue seeing these players macro back on up and can be continually fighting positional engagements. A couple of Infested Terran going down there to try to check how many siege tanks there are back there, and there's a lot of siege tanks. A total of 10 siege tanks with +2 weapons, +3, going to be done in about 50 seconds. And Bioball does go ahead and stem on up with the Infested Terran's going to be thrown down to try to absorb some of the siege tank fire, but Ultralisk is going to come crashing on in, going to be able to take out a couple of these siege tanks. Zerglings walking in, Infested Terran being lobbed down, but these Infestors are taking so much damage from these siege tanks. They do absolutely god-awful high amounts of damage. Medevacs are highly effective in this position right now, and Stephano is really on his last legs at this point. Nothing but Infestors right here, and they're probably going to be cleaned up by some siege tank fire. The last siege tank is just on its last legs, but it does manage to survive. All these Infestors over here, between them, only 2 Fungals and about 6 Infested Terran. And so we do see the scan coming down. Polt decides that he is going to be able to take this with the siege tank sieged up on the high ground up here. He is cleaning up this force rather effectively. All 6 of those Infested Terran do go down, and Polt going to be falling back to the safety of his siege tanks. These medevacs still have a decent amount of energy on them, and I think he's probably going to go back in once again. We had 6 Infestors that were being produced. They're going to be rallying in from these other bases with a couple of Ultras as well, but there's not going to be enough time. The the Ultras aren't going to get there in time, he will lose this base. After losing this base over here, he is down to only 2 mining bases, with his third going to be mining out any second here. And yeah, it's starting to mine out right now. So he's going to be down to just this 1 mining base. He's going to have a ton of drones here. It's going to be a total of 29 drones right there. So not too many, but a lot. That's for sure. Is that right? I shouldn't be trying to do math. Yeah, 29. Ultra is going to be walking in here into unsieged siege tanks with the Zergling flank and a couple of infestors coming in, but those infestors are going to be taking a lot of siege tank damage before they can even get their growths off. Fungal growth going to be going down on a good amount of the bio and the medevacs, but right now the Zerg is going to be pushed back, and I think that this is probably going to be GG any second. Stephano down by nearly 100 supply at this point. Queen's going to be dropping a couple of transfusions, healing up those ultras, but once his base goes down, it will be GG for Stephano. There's absolutely no way that he can come back from this. Zerg is fighting in from the back with ultras, confessors, and Zerglings, but they're cleaned up by the superior upgrades and the army from the Terran player. All right. So, Polt evens it up at 1-1 here in the best of 5 finals at Asus Republic of Gamers tournament at Assembly Winter 2012, Helsinki, Finland. I have been your casting host, Beef. And please, please, please make sure to comment. Help me become a better caster. I'm still very new at this. Comment on this video. Let me know what I can do to make your casting experience better. Let me know what I can do to become a better caster. And make sure to check back for Game 3. Thanks for watching.